the market was going down and it stops here, went up. Okay, it stops here. It was going down. It stops here, and then it went up. So you mark that area. Okay. Now these zones, these setups, you're looking for them again on monthly, weekly, and then daily. I just want to make sure you understand that also. Now market was selling. It stops here. It bought up. So because of that, you're just going to mark this area because that's where it stopped at. All right. Notice this double bottom is equal, where when market come back to this, that's where you will look for your price action in the 4 hour. But this zone, this double bottoms is two equal bottoms where each lows are about the same level. Okay. Now let's go ahead and talk about the next one. So that's the first double bottom. Okay. We're going to cover as far as when it comes to the zone. All right. And the second one we are going to cover is going to be a double bottom where the second leg, right, is somewhat higher, right? A lot of time when you get a double bottom, the first bottom part, that's the first one, right? And it went up. You mark that area for when the market comes back to the same zone. We will look, of course, to the left to see what it did last time, and we will anticipate for it to do the same thing. Sometimes it will come somewhat short. It won't exactly hit the zone. Okay. It won't exactly hit the zone. Sometimes it might just wick it, but it's not always going to hit the zone. So that's just one variation of that. So we're going to go over how to mark that zone, that we understand how to read and react to that accordingly for when and if the market give us a setup like that. So our goal, right, is to learn to understand, right, what the market is giving us, the ins and out. Once we understand, all we got to do is simply read and react. Okay. We already know enough. Now, the third one, okay, is just like a little bit the opposite of the second one. Now, this time around, you do have a double bottom. It's just that, right, when the market stops, it went up. You generate a line, that's your zone. A lot of time, the market will go a little bit past it. It will break that zone. And then it will give you your price action to go up. Okay. So that's what we're covering. We're covering zones with different variations of double bottoms. So those are three I took from the book, right? If you want to learn to understand the ins and out in the other three, you're going to have to go ahead and go to Amazon, just type in Royalty FX Academy, and then it will be available to you. I do apologize if I am speaking a little bit too fast, so I'll slow it down. Okay. So yeah. So these are what we are covering today. So we're covering zones. The first type of zone, basically the whys and where and when. So now we already know the first aspect of zones. Okay. So now we're going to cover also setup two. What do I mean by setup two? So after the market itself gives you a double bottom, right? After the market gives you a double bottom, we want to understand what is the next setup that will be available to us. And we are talking about a break and retest. Okay. We're talking about breaking the previous structure high. To be more specific, since the market is in a downtrend, we're looking for a buy setup. We're looking for a market to break the previous lower high. Okay. So just like before, we got equal bottoms, right? We wait for the market to break previous low high and then to come back down. This will be a textbook break and retest. So here is where market breaks the previous high to give us a new high that's higher than the previous one. So we have a higher high now, right? Now we wait for the market to come back down to retest this previous low high. And then when and if market give us that bullish engulfing, right, we'll buy it to go up. Now, at this point, this structure here will be considered as a higher low, right? Where double bottoms are basically two lower lows, equal lows for the most part for this one, right? But this low point right here is going to be higher than the previous one. So we are transitioning from a bearish trend into a bullish trend. So from lower lows to high lows, right? From lower high to higher high, lower lows to high lows, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, back these out. Let me just cover this up, bring it in. So that's the second setup we're going to go over when it comes to the zones. All right. So we're going to cover a lot of information today. All right. Good amount of information. Now, this is, again, after the first setup, which is the double bottom. In the case of this one, right, if you pay attention to it, right, just like the previous double bottom, right, you notice here's the zone because that's the first bottom. And when the market goes up to give you this high right here, low high, okay, and it comes back down, it failed to give you an equal lower low, right? So this is a lower low. At this point now, we have a low high, right? But that's just the first aspect, right? Now we have market breaking previous previous low high. So again, just like before, we'll wait, okay, for the market to come back. So since it broke previous low high, it breaks structure here, right, to give you a higher high because that's higher than the previous one, right? We will wait for the market to come back down. Now, in the case of this one, we have market dropping a little bit lower. So it broke past the previous low high to drop a bit lower. So at any moment in point when the market does give us a bullish engulfing, like so, right, we will buy it to go up. And that structure itself will be considered as a, sorry, you know what? This right here was wrong. This is a high low. I'm sorry. Let me fix that real quick. I just realized that when I looked at it. Okay. This right here is a high low because it's higher than that one. Okay. So from lower low to high low. So it's still a double bottom. It just failed to give you an equal low. So it's a bit higher. All right. But the trend reversal is when market breaks a previous high, right? It breaks a previous high, to be more specific, from a bearish trend to a bullish trend. The previous low high has to be broken. And then once it come back to retest it, at that point, once they give us a bullish engulfing to go up, we are now going to be in a higher high that follows by a high low and so on and so forth, right? That will be the second variation setup after a double bottom. And this double bottom, of course, is where the market does not give you a two equal lows, right? Where the second one, okay, is a bit higher than the first one, okay? All right, now let's go ahead and cover setup number 3, okay? So just like before, right? The first setup market will give us is a double bottom, right? Not every double bottom look the same. Now, if you're paying attention to this, right, you will notice that the first bottom, which is here, okay, that's the zone, right? You will notice that when after market went and give you a lower high, right? So let me do this real quick that we can understand, right? Market went and give you a lower high. This was the previous lower low, give you a lower low, a low high, and then in turn it goes and give you another lower low. The only difference is this one is actually a lot lower than the previous lower low. So it's following the structure. It just happened to go a bit lower. All right. And then market shot up, right? It shot up and broke the previous low high, right? So it went past the previous low high, the same concept, right? So now what we are doing is we are going to wait for the market to come back down like so, right? When it does come back down, so in the case of this one, we're going to have the market itself fall all the way back to the previous lower low, right? Because sometimes it does that. It still broke the previous high to give you my bad, to be more specific, it broke the previous low high to give you a new high that's higher than that. So we now have a higher high, right? And then the market comes back down to give you another lower low. But remember, it did break the previous low high. So now at this point, right, we have a double bottom setup again. So the original double bottom setup right here, it was somewhat divergent where the second leg fell a bit lower than the previous leg. Now this time around, it came back within the same zone. A lot of time, let me show you real quick, right? A lot of time with here, right? You will have probably something like this where you have the last candle with a wick, right? So even though this fell all the way down, it will still be within that zone itself. So remember, the wick is liquidity, basically the highest the market went, and the close. That's why we learned to mark our zone with a line chart. We're gonna go over that real quick. Let me not jump too far ahead. So you will know it's within the same zone. All right. Now, you know what? I'm gonna start with that one first when we do continue, because I believe the market the market gave us the same setup, and I did take that buy based off the weekly break and retest, daily double bottom, 4-hour double bottom divergent with a bullish engulfing. So let me clean this up real quick. Okay. And then you will see, right? Now I haven't got the retest yet, but so that's the setups we're gonna go over when it comes to the zone marking. Okay. That way we truly understand each and every single variation of setups that the market will give us and how to properly mark these zones. Okay, so we know we have a double bottom where the second leg is a bit lower than the previous lower low. Okay, now I'm just gonna go ahead and show you with an actual chart. We're using Trading View. Okay, come on, buddy. All right, so okay, now, oh no, come on. I don't like it when it does that. Come on now. Are you gonna remove all my markings? All right, doesn't matter. I could always redo them again. Yeah, it's like it's literally messing with it. Okay, so let me remove these stuff. Bear with me. I know I'm blocking the screen. Just be patient with me a little bit. I don't know if it's the board or if it's just the board and Trading View together, but here it is. Let me just delete all this stuff. You know what? I'm gonna trash everything real quick, and then because I like my chart to be very, very clean. So now look. So I'm gonna mark the zone, right? So this was the last low. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. All right, right here was the last low, right? And if we look at the wick, it's all the way down here, right? See the wick of it, which is here. Okay. Now, when I run the zone, I'm just running it straight across. Okay. All right, just like that. Now, of course, when it comes to drawing your zone, you want to use your line chart. We're gonna go over that real quick also, but I wanted to show you, right, how come on, buddy, work for me. All right, I wanted to show you how the setup would look like. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely weird. Put that right there. Okay, cool. That way I have a bit more room. Let's minimize it, bring it more forward. I hope you guys can see it. Okay. So what I'm saying is, okay, the market itself, right? It shot all the way down. You see, it left the wick, it went back up, and it came back again, right? So this is the zone where it started at, and this is the highest. I mean, this is the lowest it went. So within the turnaround point itself, in the wick, that's my zone. Okay. So you can see the market went up. Okay. Boom. And then it came back. Now, the first time you can see how right here it respected. Okay. And then the second time around, it went a bit lower. So it went a little bit past the zone. But please understand, That's just one variation of a double bottom. Exactly what we're going over. And then market went and give us a 4-hour bullish engulfing. That is a trade that I took, and I believe I put my stop loss in profit after this right here. Okay, clean to go, easy money. So you pull the trigger, stop loss at the low, and this is where current market is right now. Oh no, I'm sorry, it wicked me out right here. Okay, that's current market right now. Okay, so that is a double bottom setup based off the daily. Let me clean up real quick. So I'm gonna show you that it is a higher time frame setup. I don't know why it's doing that, preventing me from seeing the way I need to see it. Okay, now it looks small, but what I'm gonna do is it just looked like a little bit of mosh pit or consolidation. Once I put the line chart on, you see that? You will now see, come on, buddy. All right, you see the setup itself. See, right? One hit, it went up, came back down, boom. That is a double bottom on a daily time frame. Okay. And then all I did was I dropped down to the 4-hour and wait for my bullish engulfing price action. Okay. Any one of the 6 variations. Remember, ultimate price action book available now on Amazon. If you truly want to understand how the market buys, right? The candle that you need that will always, well, let me not use the word always, that has a 95% chance of always playing out for you. I guess I'm still throwing always. 95% winning rate, if not 85%, that it will play out for you. Okay. Now, that's pretty much it. So notice that the zone is from the turnaround point. I just run it across. You could see on the daily time frame, it literally just respects the zone, right? I'm gonna put the candles back on. Hold up. I'm gonna put the candles back on. You see that? That wick down here is what we saw in the 4-hour when the 4-hour went a bit lower, but it respected it. Okay. So when it comes to this itself, of course, I'm looking for the buy to continue. Notice the word I'm using, right? I'm looking for it to do so. It doesn't mean that it will. All right. I'm just looking for the buy to continue since we had the 4-hour bullish engulfing, right? It's a daily setup. Looking for it to come within this area or somewhere right there. Okay. First area, right? Or second, third, and then to come back down. So in the case of this, what you're seeing is like a break and retest possibility setup. So that's what I'm waiting for. Okay. It could always sit here. Now, what I want you to also understand is even though it's also a double bottom, right? When you look at the daily, it did this. Okay. That is also a possible double top daily setup where the market is currently at zone now, where it can give me a 4-hour bearish engulfing to fall. Okay. So let me show you how it would look like, or how it would look like on the daily. Okay. I mean, on the 4-hour, right? So it's the same thing. So let me put the line chart on first. That way you can understand. Now I'm going to use the horizontal. Let me just use a regular trend line placement right here. So I can put my zone. Okay. Like so. That's the first part of the zone, right? Because that's the turnaround point. When I put the candles on, right, I am going to use the wick because I need to identify the highest it went. That's liquidity right here, right? And I'm going to run it straight across. So what I'm saying is, okay, I'm not looking for a sell, but I understand within this range right here, if and when. So this is how it would look like if you use a rectangle property, right? Do something like this. It will look something like this. Okay, you see that? So what I'm saying is when you look at this in a line, you see that is a double top. I'm not saying it's going to sell, but if at any moment in time the market goes and gives me a bearish engulfing, I will take the sell to continue down because I already know we are in a bearish trend overall, right? But it happened to be a daily setup. Now, when I drop down, I'm gonna put it back to the candles, okay? When I drop down to the 4-hour time frame, okay? So remember the time frame that you use to execute your trade. So rule number 1, highest time frame, monthly, weekly, and daily. Okay, that's where you mark your zone. That's where you look for your setup. Rule number 2 is what time frame am I using to execute that trade? And that is the 4-hour, right? You see how the zone look like now? I know it's a bit flat, but you could see it a bit better. Let me stretch it up. Okay, look at that. Boom. Bring it more up. See that? Same thing. Now I know it looked pretty big, but that's just what it is. So the zone was marked on the highest time frame. So it's always gonna look huge in the lower time frame as far as the 4 hour. But you understand that is within the zone. So the same setup, right? The same setup that you identify either on the monthly, weekly, and daily, when you go to the 4 hour, it's gonna give you pretty much the same setup. Meaning if you have a double top, right, on the monthly, right? Within here, on the 4 hour, it's gonna be a smaller version of it, double top, so it's itself for the most part. I just want to make sure you guys understand that, right? So what I'm saying is that's the last high, right? It went low. So what I'm saying is see how it's going to the same high area. So I'll be looking for a bearish engulfing to pull the trigger for it to fall. All right. Hopefully it's not too much information and I am not speaking too fast, but I just want you to understand the setup is based off the higher time frame. I'm just simply waiting for a price action. That way I could just simply read and react. That's all. That's all I need to do. That's my job, just to simply read and react. Let the market tell me what to do. So we did take the bullish, like I mentioned before. Entry point, stop loss low. At this point, I did reduce my stop loss. At here, I put my stop loss in profit. See that? Easy to go. I did hit break even, by the way, with this candle. All right. Easy work. Okay. So we target TPs. All right. And I got wicked out here. This is at 2 p.m. This happened. Stop hunt low, clear this, and got wicked out. All good though. All right. So let's go back to the chart as far as what it is we are learning today.